What I'm going to do now is to share with you the findings I have made after researching several historical Norwegian sources to find information on soil, cultivation, and composting. And I start with what is called double digging. Yes, double digging of soil has been known and carried out in Norway at least since the end of the 17th century. And double digging means working with the soil in depth. It is time-consuming, heavy manual work. According to several sources, was double digging quite common and was considered necessary to improve the soil when a new garden was to be established. The oldest source I have examined, Horticultura from 1694, describes double digging in a great detail. And I have included the description here as it largely corresponds to information in later sources. So, here it is. Christian Gartner, the author of Horticultura, he says this about double digging. And hopefully the figure will help you to understand. Anyway, the procedure is as follows. The area to be prepared for garden must be dug deep with tools such as an iron spade, iron hoe, and iron pole. And you start from the edge and dig a trench, 62 to 78 centimeters deep and about 62 centimeters wide. And of course, centimeters was not used 300 years ago. Then they used alen. As you can see, I've written it here. I couldn't translate it, so I've written the Norwegian word. But alen, just a minute, is an old unit of measurement. Previously used all over Europe, according to the encyclopedia. The length of alen has varied throughout history, and in Norway, the length was 75 centimeters when it went out of use. And this was in the 1870s, when the metric system was introduced in Norway. But craftsmen used alen as a measure of length long after this. I thought this was quite interesting about alen, so I have to take it with me here. Back to Christian Gartner and his double digging. He says that stones and roots are removed, and the trench is filled with livestock manure. Maybe you say livestock. No, I don't remember what the other word was, but manure is okay, I think. Christian Gartner, he preferred horse manure. Alternatively, manure from cows, sheep, or pigs can be used. And a new trench is dug next to the first, and the soil from this is laid on the top of the manure in the first trench. In this way, the entire garden must be worked through. And Mr. Gartner, he emphasizes that when cultivating the soil, one must learn how to determine the quality of soil by looking at the color, the smell, the consistency, and structure, which together provide a lot of information. Wise word, I think. So, Fredrik Christian Schubler is another source from Norway, but he lived in the 19th century. And Schubler was a botanist and a very important person for Norwegian horticulture. He published several books and was a manager in a botanical garden in Oslo for at least 20 years, late in the 19th century. And Schubler, he describes a slightly different way of double digging. The procedure for digging deep trenches is similar, but Schiebler describes what we in Norwegian call aurvelting. It's a strange Norwegian word, and I have written it here on the screen, as you can see, together with regulering, because these two words I have found together in almost all the sources I have examined. So regulering is not a Norwegian word, and it is written in different ways in the different sources. I think maybe it is originally from Germany, but I'm not sure. Skal vi se. Yes, but about aurvelting, I cannot translate this word. But according to the encyclopedia, aurvelting is about working with the soil deeper than normal and loosen the subsoil. Anyway, Schiebler, he describes how the subsoil is to be loosened to a depth of about 20 centimeters, and he claims that the subsoil has a great impact on the topsoil, and in many cases can make it more fertile if it has substances that the topsoil lacks. Whether the subsoil is of good quality, and that is a suitable mixture of clay, sand, and organic materials, not too firm and not too loose. Then the subsoil can be dug up and laid on top of the topsoil in the previous trench. Mixing subsoil and topsoil is otherwise not recommended. Another source claims that one cannot expect a full crop the first 2 years after aurvelting. But then the results will show. This way of double digging garden soil was common throughout the 19th century and lasted until about 1950 in Norway. But the depth of the trenches has varied a lot. In a book from 1925, the recommended depth of the trenches is 30 to 40 centimeters. So it's a difference. And double digging of the soil should always take place in the fall season. Here all the sources are aligned. Frost and air will work with the top layer of the soil through the winter. And it's a wise way to take advantage of the seasonal variations. Yeah, here is Schiebler's small test you can do with a spade to determine if the topsoil is of good quality. And he says that when you are working with soil, with a soil with a good quality, it should form loose lumps. And these lumps could be easily crushed with a spade, and of course with a little energy. So it's a small test everyone can do. Skal vi se. Yes, compost, of course. Compost and composting. And there is actually quite a lot of information to be found about composting in the cultivation site. Manure and waste were added to improve soil structure and fertility. This was common. I was very happy to find compost recipes, and I will share some of these with you here. So this is from a Danish source. Maybe it's strange that I use a Danish source, but it is not at all. It was a natural connection between Norway and Denmark. So it is, I don't know his first names, but Jensen, or maybe you say Jensen, from Denmark, and his Danish horticulture book from 1864. I found several recipes here, and this is really a mix. He says that, ska vi se. Yes, make the compost like a square with as vertical sides as possible, and collect all types of waste, such as weeds, rubbish, dung, leaves, ash, sand, horn and bone shavings, manure from poultry and latrines, blood, and intestines from slaughtered animals. A real mix. And lay the compost in layers with marl, all preferable quicklime. And maybe I should say something about marl. If you can find it again, it was, yeah, there it is. Marl is a type of limestone. And in the past, marl was often used as a soil improver to supply the plants with calcium. I hope I say it right, calcium, say it in the Norwegian way. And I find this use of marl both to add in soil and in compost. Many places in these horticulture books. Very short. No, I lost. Yes. If some elements in the compost have a strong fertilizing effect, you can put turf in some layers. And when the compost is finished, it has to be watered with manure water or fertilizer water several times during the summer. And the compost must also be kept clean of weeds, because the weeds set seeds, and the seeds are spread with the compost. This is important information. And the compost can be used in the kitchen garden after 1 year. If it is to be used in a manure bench, it must stand for 2 years and be turned 2 or 3 times. In addition, it must be driven through a soil sieve to be fine-grained enough. Here's another recipe, and it is from a Norwegian source. His name is Peter Nøvik, and he is also an important source for us at VEA in our study. So he was a gardener, and also he wrote several books, and I have examined 2 of his horticulture books from the 1890s. So composted turf. And Mr. Nøvik, he says that you should find places with clayey soil and natural grass growth where there has been grazing land for a long time, and dig up pieces of the turf to a depth of a few centimeters, and lay the pieces layer by layer in a compost heap with the grass upside down, and leave for a while. And turn the compost a few times and water with fertilizer water. And this will be ready to use after 1 year. Yes, and this is the last one. And it's about compost for potted plants. And it's from the Danish horticulture book again. He says this about plant soil for potted plants. Yes, compost soil. You can make compost soil of weeds, leaves, pieces from turf, and different kinds of waste, both in solid and liquid form. and also add lime marl. No, I say it wrong. I think it's, I think you say not lime marl, but marl. I think that's the right word. And marl is added for faster dissolution or transformation. And this compost must be turned 3 or 4 times and will be ready for use after 2 years. And when used, the compost is mixed with beet shen and some coal waste. This will be excellent for most potted plants, he says. And I thought it was very interesting about this coal waste. So I found a little information about using coal waste and charcoal. So the same author says that carbon dust and pieces of coal mixed in the soil has a good effect on root growth and keeps the soil airy. And access to coal and coal dust is easiest to obtain by the coal miles. Or you can pick up wood waste from the garden, add layers of straw, and cover with wet grass and light a fire. And this is how the charring happens, he says. So then you get charcoal. And here's a picture from an old charcoal in Norway. It's from the 19th century. Can we see? And here is, charcoal is also mentioned by Schibler. And he talks about the usefulness of mixing charcoal into soil in general. And he says that charcoal is suitable for almost all plants and all soil, as long as the soil is not too wet. And coarsely crushed charcoal is mixed into the soil in this way. Half a barrel of crushed coal is suitable to 100 feet of soil. This is Schibler's words. And this will make the soil loose and receptive to heat. And it will absorb water and gases that are very useful for plant growth. And the plants get what they need as needed. So thank you all.